For the remainder of the video, in case you were wondering why this video is so long, it's because I actually had an opportunity to sit down with Energi and talk to Tommy, okay, about what is going on, what this project is doing. Very interesting. What's cool is they didn't have an ICO and they didn't have a pre-mine, so it's essentially pretty fair. Also, just want to let you guys know, in case, I know sometimes people don't watch the interviews, so I'm going to let you know now, they have this thing called Earn Drop, and which is cool. Currently, they are actually allowing citizens of USA, Canada, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand to get involved. I know, right? USA can get involved. This is nuts. So I want to let you guys know. So basically, they do have a KYC, which you might be saying, isn't that centralized? Well, the reason that they have it is because, let's be realistic, if they're giving away free Energi tokens, you can just keep using a different VPN and just getting as many tokens as you want, right? But if you guys want to check it out, I do have a link for that below. And without further ado, let's get into the interview. All right, so Tommy World Power in the building. How's it going, man?
It's good. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. It's interesting. Usually, we don't really have a lot of currencies on the channel. You tend to see a lot of hype over things like smart contract platforms or stuff like that. But I thought what you were doing with Energi was actually really interesting and unique. So I figured you could kind of let everybody know. First of all, what was the problem that you saw, and why did you feel the need that you had to create this currency in the first place?
Yeah, sure. I've been in the cryptocurrency space for almost 6 years now. So I've seen what's come and gone. I've seen kind of these cycles, and I've paid attention to a lot of what's most powerful in the space. I was a ICO investor in Ethereum. I saw how Ethereum was going to change the world with smart contract platform and whatnot. And my focus is paying attention to the future of crypto. I would say I'm a pretty decent visionary of seeing what's coming in crypto. I have a decent sense about it. My motivation was when I saw this enormous gap in the space of what was there, rather than relying on projects to do things right, I decided to create Energi. So Energi entails what I feel are some of the most powerful ideas in cryptocurrency. What I would say is probably the strongest foundation out of any cryptocurrency that exists in the market today. And it would be difficult to even create. And that ties directly to its self-funding mechanism, which I'm sure I'll explain soon enough. But yeah, it's a self-funding, self-propelling cryptocurrency. And while this might not seem so powerful on the surface, it's incredibly powerful in many ways, which I'm sure we'll get into. But hopefully that's a bit of an intro.
Yeah, I mean, interesting right off the bat. You have no ICO, no pre-mine, so that like jumps right off the page to me instantly. So, I mean, obviously,
exactly.
You're trying to make this very fair from the start.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, honestly, realistically, are you like trying to replace Bitcoin? I mean, we know that. I mean, is that really even going to be a possibility? Like, how high are we striving here with this?
Okay. Well. So I mean, on that note, I was one of the earlier people to predict Bitcoin's fall in dominance. So back in 2017, for instance, before March 2017, Bitcoin was typically above 90% dominance or very close. And to put that in perspective, it means you have 10 eggs, 9 of them are Bitcoin, and everything else is that last one. So Bitcoin was really dominant. So it was a really controversial thing for me to have the opinion that Bitcoin is not going to be the end all be all. There were many big personalities back then saying Bitcoin is like the TCP/IP layer; it's not going anywhere. And I'm thinking, no, I don't think you guys quite understand what cryptocurrency and what money really is, which I could expand on that in a bit. But the bottom line is I didn't see that. And I actually pretty much nailed it with the Bitcoin transaction backlog that Bitcoin experienced around March 2017. Bitcoin dramatically lost dominance from around 88% or so it dropped down to something like 40%. That's a huge difference.
We went lower than that, actually. We went to like 30 something percent at one point.
You're right. Yeah. We did. I think we did go that low. I don't know if it was that late.
Well, according to CoinMarketCap, exactly, I don't know if those are even accurate, So.
No. You're exactly right. But the point is, that's a dramatic shift from Bitcoin having 9 out of 10 eggs in this example I gave. It's dropping down to 3 out of 10. That's a huge change. So I think many people are starting to come around to the idea that Bitcoin is not going to be the end all be all. In fact, I'm of the belief that in the next bubble, Ethereum will pass Bitcoin. It will do the flippening, as many call it. It wasn't far off from that. And on this kind of bigger perspective, by the way, I'm sure some of your viewers may be interested as well, as understanding what will happen in the next bubble, the next bull market. Bitcoin's transaction capacity right now is already at capacity. So we're seeing a backlog, a persistent backlog. The past month, we've seen a persistent backlog reoccur in Bitcoin. This is a big deal. Last time it resulted in $50 fees and people waiting days for transactions, and it caused this big shift. And I think we're going to see it much worse than we saw last time in the coming year or two. So I don't think Lightning Network is strong enough to support Bitcoin. I think we're going to see a lot of overflow into these altcoins, for one. So I'm personally of the belief that it's not, that Bitcoin will have the whole market or remain to be the most dominant. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very big on Bitcoin on this channel, so it's actually interesting to have this conversation with you because, I mean, I realize all the reasons that Bitcoin sucks. In fact, when I first got into crypto, I hated Bitcoin. I was like, why would anybody even use this stupid coin? Like, I was all into the other ones, and actually, after the dump, after the crazy bear, market that we've been having, I've actually shifted my attention to Bitcoin, actually. So it's really interesting having this conversation with you. One of the things that really draws me to it specifically is the security. I mean, people have been hacked, but the Bitcoin blockchain has, theoretically never been hacked, and it's only been down, what, 0.03% of the time that it's ever been up, and that was very, very in the early stages. So, I mean, I understand what you're talking about from maybe that perspective, but from security perspective, I mean, what is it that like Energi is offering that could offer that type of security? I mean, can you guys prevent against these 51% attack? I mean, you do your proof of stake, right? So
Correct. Yes.
yeah, so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about the differences, right? Let's talk. And one thing I want to just dive into too is you don't have a cap on the supply, whereas Bitcoin does, and that's arguably one of the most attractive things about it. So I would love to talk about all these financial aspects of it.
Yeah, they're big deals, and you hit on a lot of really important stuff there. So I'll be happy to explain. And a lot of my thought process comes from thinking about these problems extensively. The thought. Well, let's keep it simple. I'll start with proof of work. So I guess a good way to explain Energi that relates to this too is, Bitcoin has a ton of hashing power going to it, a lot of miners mining it, and billions of dollars a year worth of rewards being generated as a result of that. My observation when I was making Energi, and still to this day, is Bitcoin would be just as secure if it had 1/100th of the award going toward mining rewards. And this is seen because Bitcoin pretty much never had problems with 51% attacks any time in the past 5 or 6 years. That was, miner centralization is one thing, but that's not related to enough hash power being available for, the NSA getting control over Bitcoin or something like that. It never had that issue. So on that note, Bitcoin is essentially as secure now as it was in 2013 when it had 1/100th of the award. So the way I look at it is, rather than give all that money to miners, what if you gave, for instance, 10% of it to miners, and you gave the rest of it to a treasury? And we know Bitcoin would be pretty much secure because it's been secure at 1/100th of the reward. So what you're looking at basically is the way I like to explain it is if Bitcoin had 99.99999% security back in 2013, now it has 99.9999999% security. It has a tiny fraction more security realistically for a massively greater cost. And if you took the majority of that cost and actually reinvested it in the ecosystem, I think the return in terms of growth in Bitcoin would be a lot better than that really expensive last bit you pay for security. Does that make sense?
Well, is that sort of tying into why you've decided to have such a large treasury allocation?
That's correct.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge deal. I mean, we can look at a number of things in terms of how many developers are working for projects, but most projects don't even have a 3-digit, like over 100 developers directly working on the project. Ethereum's core is like 23 people on the last dev meeting. There's a lot of developers working on their own projects and whatnot, but actually working on the core protocols, they aren't massive teams. And I think that's a huge missed value. I see projects of the future having their core teams of hundreds or thousands of people. I think that's going to happen within the next few years. But in order to do that, you need resources to be able to fund that, right? And so the models that have appeared here in the past 2 years have been ICOs. And so we've seen these projects come out and raise approximately $20 million. And over the past year and a half, many of them have burned through the majority of that. And what now? What is the next phase of those organizations going to look like? For us in Energy, we have a treasury. We have an ongoing release of funds. Our Energy is completely self-sufficient. Everyone, we have about 20 people working for Energy. It's all paid through the emission that Energy generates and that is sold organically on the market. And that's how we fund our team in development. That's going to continue funding Energy from the 20-man team it is now to a 200-person team to a 2,000-person team and so on. With that manpower, we can create things that other projects simply can't do. And that also ties into having the research and development to identify what are the things that need to be focused on developing in the space, which is so important because there's so many projects and so many things you can focus on. But what are the things that truly have the most value? And those things have to be constantly analyzed, and it's essentially a research and development department that needs to exist.
And you guys, I mean, from what I'm aware of, you guys are not stopping here because, I mean, I was under the impression you were just a currency, which technically at this point you are, but you're saying you're looking to actually implement smart contracts onto your platform as well, right? And you guys are not a fork of Dash, but you used some of the Dash code, but your 1 minute block time is what I saw, right?
Yeah, we took Dash's code base and heavily modified it. I mean, we started with it because of the treasury function, which we needed. The treasury is the beating heart of the cryptocurrency, you know. And what I foresee in the future is that many projects will add treasuries that don't have them now. They're still going to find difficulty to compete with us on that, even if they have a treasury, for a number of reasons. But yeah, but that just goes to show you that many projects don't even see the importance of that. I see the criticalness of that. That ties, by the way, to the second thing you ask of no coin limit, right? Why is there no limit on how much energy is created? Because the treasury is necessary for the ongoing survival. If you assign a date for that to end, then you're essentially signing a death sentence. On that date, no longer will you have funds to continue the growth. I don't believe in that. I think that why would I put a limit on it? We could put a limit on it to kind of conform and appease people, but in reality, there's no reason to put a cap on it if it's helpful, right? If the money being used is helping the ecosystem more than it costs, then it's always worthwhile. That's kind of my perspective. We are transitioning to smart contract platform. We're in the process of it right now. We started as a Dash code base, and now we're moving to an Ethereum code base, which we're still going to have our masternode and treasury system on top of Ethereum, which is a very powerful trifecta. We have governance, we have funding, and we have smart contract platform. And I'll mention too, we aren't tied to the Ethereum code base. It's not like we're do or die Ethereum. I love Ethereum. But if there is a better platform out there, we can transition to that. I kind of see it as like kind of like railroad tracks. We can take whatever track is going to serve Energy the best, and we will probably be the ones innovating that sooner or later. We kind of are in some ways already.
So it's like a blockchain agnostic approach. You guys will just sort of go with whatever is the most productive at the time, or whatever seems to be working the best. I mean, so in that sense, you don't even really have to worry about competition because you're so flexible, and what you can do with your code and everything. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
That's that whole forward thinking thing you said before. Because some of these guys, they get strapped in and then they're just stuck, and then they're like, "What do we do?" And it's so difficult for them to migrate. It's just I've seen it. It's a mess. So that's But so then yeah, I mean, But how do you think that would fare in comparison? I mean, so now you're looking at smart contracts. Now are we talking about dApps being built on Energy and all that? Is that something that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to offer services to these dApps that don't exist right now. One thing that I see is totally lacking in this space is a defense for cryptocurrencies. We have a defense department, and EOS has a system of blacklisting to handle hackers and scammers, but it's really a sordid part of the space. These scammers having a heyday with taking advantage of users. You need a defense department to protect users, to make sure there's ample warnings on wallets. My Ether wallet, you know how many scams occurred? People doing stuff on My Ether wallet, and then they have like 9 pop-ups now. Every time you try to use My Ether wallet, you haven't used it, you have to go through 9 pop-ups. They did that because they finally realized that so many people are getting ripped off. They need to have more procedures in place. Really, that should be part of the protocol to make sure the users are protected in as many ways as possible, not just there. The communication channels, Telegram, Discord, these are places that these scammers like hanging out, and there's nothing in place for that. We have we have in our Discord channel people who try to mimic admins by changing their name to them. They get banned. We're constantly monitoring it. We're identifying the routes of attack people are attacking us in, and we're disabling them. You know, when people.
These guys
So
are getting smarter
yeah,
too, man. And these phishing links, they're not like they used to be. I mean, it's to the point where, you'll have the link with the line under it, and they'll do one of these like Nordic symbols with like a dot under an A, and like you can't even see it. So like even a person like me who's trained to look for a phishing link could be tricked. I mean, it's crazy, like the tricks that these guys, and then like you said, the impersonations as well. Forget about it, man. Go on my channel and see how many crypto zombies are commenting below that I have to. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So
yeah.
But that's awesome that you guys are taking that approach to it. It's very, very important. And it's difficult. And that, I think personally, you're talking about adoption. That is one of the most difficult things is people are horrified. There's just so much risk in this space. They just say, you know what, I'm just going to keep my money in the bank. I know I'm losing 2 to 3% annually, but screw it. Like at least I'm FDIC insured, So
yeah. These things I think will come with governance. And we have some ideas on how we're going to do that. It could be something that first of all, we have our masternodes vote if there's any major hack that occurs on Energy, like that occurred on Ethereum. Ethereum had a major hack with the DAI that resulted in Ethereum Classic being born from that because they were two conflicting perspectives on it. But if we had a hack like that, we could have masternodes vote and say, first of all, we can freeze those funds. That can be programmed in, and then as well as we vote for those funds to go back to the community. So the community decides how that's going to happen. That's totally lacking in Ethereum right now. If there's a major hack on Ethereum right now, it's going to be a shit show like it was before because there's no governance in place. These are major considerations. We will also want to have that on a small scale. So if people are affected, the masternodes may be able to elect a police or whatnot that can freeze funds for users and help resolve it. This is definitely a more complex thing, and you can see how it would require a lot of manpower to do this. But I think this is the direction cryptocurrency is going to go for the same reason as you mentioned. No one wants to worry about being taken advantage of in the space. And it sucks for anyone who's affected by a hack. And it's kind of, these concepts are a little bit far out, but EOS is the first big one to also take a step in this direction with their blacklist. I think that is the direction it's going to go. So there needs to be more security too. You should be able to do things like freeze funds. And if you want them unfrozen, that it needs to do a 2FA or something so you can really ensure your funds are secure. These are innovations that developers can create if there's enough manpower to do so.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. The whole space is growing as a whole, and I could see what you guys are doing. But I mean, like, what is the ultimate end goal? Like just ultimately for Energy? Like, what can we expect from you guys? Like in a year, 2 years, what are you trying to really ultimately do with this?
Sure. So I suppose that ties to the biggest picture,
like the
of
grand
the way
vision,
that I approach.
Essentially. Yeah.
I think the big picture is that people, and I've said this in some of my former videos, people will choose the money they want to use. This is the future of money in cryptocurrency. The example is any country we're in right now. You're in the US, you use the US dollar for most things. I'm in Thailand right now. I use the baht. In Europe, they use the euro. I think in the future that we'll be able to choose the money we want to use. Let's say maybe you don't like using the US dollar. Maybe you don't like what it supports, for example. Then you have a choice if you want to use another currency. By using that currency, you're empowering that currency, the money you choose to accept. These are really big concepts about money. And that's where the name Energy actually comes from, because money is just a form of energy. It's the energy that we use and channel.
You've been watching Infinite Waters lately? Is that... So he always says that.
But now I will.
Infinite Waters always says money's just energy. He always says that all the time.
Really?
Yeah. You never seen Infinite Waters on
No.
Infinite Waters. Check him out. He's pretty cool. Ralph Smart.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's how I feel as well. Money is just a form of energy. And so those currencies that we like that are doing good for the world and we choose to use those, they're going to get stronger. And those ones that we choose not to use will get weaker. This is how a big shift occurs in the world, and how I think consciousness comes to rise more in the world. I'm big on that type of stuff. Consciousness, morality. I value those. So that's the end game that I see and that's, by the way, why I don't think Bitcoin is going to be the end all be all. I think there's going to be competition for currencies. People will probably choose to use a currency that they really ideologically, connect with. And at that point, cryptocurrency will be prevalent enough that you can effectively use cryptocurrency in many places, and you can have them You can pay in the cryptocurrency you want. They can accept the cryptocurrency they want. And there is some middle exchange that occurs that automatically facilitates the transaction. There might be some fee associated depending on the spread and liquidity, but you can essentially have an automatic transaction to pay in what you want, the person to accept what they want. And that's how currencies strengthen.
We're working on it.
Weaken for the ones that
we're working on it. There are some platforms out there now. I mean, even like Monarch Wallet, if you've seen them, they're trying to introduce the whole Monarch Pay thing where, you could have whatever you want, like any token on your thing. You can pay the vendor, and if the vendor wants it to be received in US dollars, should they choose, then it'll be instantly converted. And I understand that may not be the grand vision of Satoshi, but it is a step in the right direction. You got to start somewhere. You're not going to get the whole world to just instantly put down their banking app and just start using cryptocurrency. You know what I mean? There has to be some sort of an incentive. And unfortunately, over in the West, we haven't really felt that desperation yet the way that other countries have. Like you've seen the all-time highs, and again, we had another all-time high in Venezuela. You know what I mean? But over here, we're just kind of speculating, so it's just like, I feel like it's a gamble over here, but in reality, there is that real world necessity for it. So kind of before we go, I wanted to ask you a little philosophical thing, or like, in your opinion, what do you think it would really take to push us to that level? And like, how soon do you see this type of a future where we would be using crypto the way that you envision us using it?
Yeah, I look at kind of the adoption growth rate. Crypto's essentially, it's about doubling in user base every year, obviously slowing down over time. So decaying slightly, but we're I would say close to 1% adoption. In 5 to 10 years, I think we'll kind of reach that critical mass that you're talking about just by the adoption growth rate as it grows. I think the markets where it's going to find the most use is kind of as you were describing, those countries that need it. Lots of countries that are a bit poorer and, they don't have Visa, MasterCard, maybe other solutions they don't like. Crypto can really come in and serve them. The younger crowd is typically where it's absorbed more quickly. Imagine teenagers, that can't even get a credit card or something, but that can use crypto effectively and also like what it supports. They also like the community. I think that's kind of the direction that it goes in, where adoption picks up the most. You're right. For us in the West, it's more speculative. We'll have use for it too eventually, but they're going to have more use for it before us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like you said with the youth, man, everybody, like when I was a kid, I didn't have anything like this. When I was growing up, it was like go outside and play in the mud, man. But like now it's like babies have freaking tablets.
Oh my God, yeah.
So it's like we're growing up in this digital world. So like the idea of having like digital money isn't that weird. It actually makes kind of more sense. Like I can envision, 15 years from now, looking at some kid and just being like, what the hell am I going to do with this paper? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want this taking up space in my pocket. So yeah, absolutely. I definitely see that. And, obviously it's guys like us, we're kind of in that weird middle stage between like the Warren Buffett's calling it rat poison, right? And like the kids being born into this generation that's kind of trying to make that transition to show people how ridiculous the old way is and how much better these solutions are for just, globally, man. Like it could change the world,
Yeah, there is so much use case here. I was trying to book a ticket today on Kayak, and it's just such a pain. I'm like, man, the traditional financial system is just a royal pain in the butt. These things should be a lot easier. So lots of little things like that will certainly come to turn around, I think, in the coming years.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Absolutely, man. So I do want to say thank you so much for coming on the channel. I really do appreciate it. Definitely awesome. I'm gonna have to do a much deeper dive into this energy thing and see how it works. I haven't actually had a chance to try it out yet, so I'd like to actually get some and own some and see how it works. But thanks, man, for coming on the channel, and I really appreciate it. So if you stuck it out all the way to the end, thank you so much. You are a trooper. Also, remember there is that earn drop. If you want, you can use my link below, and yeah, you can earn yourself some tokens. It does help the channel out. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but I do not require anything of you guys, as you know. Just stopping by, saying hello. It doesn't matter, guys. It's crypto. We're in this together. Thank you so much for everyone that's been liking, subscribing, and commenting. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every single day. Let's have one more quick peek. Okay, we're maintaining above 5,800. That's good short term. Anything can happen after this video comes out because we're in really critical territory right here. But that being said, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. My name is K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto and peace out.